Namaste, Shalin sir.
Ma'am, namaste.
Namaste, sir. Welcome, sir.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste. We'll begin at 4, Shah. I hope.
Yeah, ma'am, we can begin at 4. Somebody will distract me. It's right there. I can see you.
Begin at sharp 4, right?
Yes, ma'am. I think just 1 more minute to go. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear
Properly,
me?
no,
I'm
ma'am.
using a new set of headphones.
No, ma'am, not properly audible.
Okay, this is fine.
Namaste, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you for the second speaker session of the What Lies Beneath the Iceberg series. We welcome our guest speaker for today, Mr. Shalin, an IPS officer and presently Inspector General, National Security Guard. Our Managing Director, Sindhura Ma'am and Aishwarya Ma'am, Director Education and Founder Principal, Dr. Jyoti Reddy, parents, grandparents, and our dear students. The Shri Ram Universal School believes in experiential learning for academic proficiency and inculcation of values to mold our students as strong personalities with character and competence. As the part of this journey, we provide various platforms for our students to benefit from a multifaceted exposure. Carrying forward the baton of the annual All About series, this year, Shri Ram Universal School, Hyderabad is exploring the stories of grit. And the theme for this year's All About series is grit. As you're aware, grit stands for possessing an indomitable spirit. It stands for courage and determination despite difficulties. It stands for firmness of character. It stands for having a drive for achievement, regardless of upbringing and situation. What lies beneath an iceberg is a series of stories with individuals who have carved out a name for themselves in their respective fields. We want our students to know while the taste of success is sweet, it is the hard work and resilience that enables one to reach there. The idea is to acquaint children with individuals who have faced obstacles and challenges and have shown determination, courage, and tenacity to overcome hurdles and emerge as winners. It is our endeavor to showcase these stories and more to our students to help them develop qualities of resilience, perseverance, consistency, hard work, and focus. Thus, as a part of second session of What Lies Beneath the Iceberg, it is our privilege to welcome Mr. Shalin. Namaste, sir.
Namaste, ma'am.
Over to Nirupama ma'am, who will tell us more about him.
Thank you, Shweta ma'am, for setting the tone for the conversation. Mr. Shalin is a chemical engineer from IIT Roorkee, one of the premier technological institutes of India. He joined the Indian Police Service in 2001. He has served as a sub-divisional police officer, Aurangabad, superintendent of police, Patna, Nevada, and Munger in the earlier part of his career. In 2008, he opted for the central deputation and was selected to join the elite special protection group, commonly known as SPG. He worked as AIG, close protection trained, and trusted with the responsibility of providing protection to the Prime Minister of India. And for 5 long years, it was his responsibility to ensure the safety and security of India's prime ministers. Subsequently, on coming back to Bihar cadre, he served as Deputy Inspector General, Anti-Terror Squad, DIG Gaya, before being posted as DIG, Central Range Patna. In May 2017, the officer joined the elite National Security Guard and was appointed as a force commander. He planned and supervised the successful implementation of upgraded protocols in training and tactics for close protection and raised the new VIP security wing of NSG called the Close Protection Force. For his outstanding service and leadership, he was awarded Special Duty Medal, the Indian Police Medal for Meritorious Service, the Utkrish Seva Padak, and NSGDG's Commendation Disc twice in 2018 and 2020. He's married to Mrs. Vipin Luthra, who was his classmate at IIT Roorkee and is presently working as a senior director enterprise solution in a leading multinational company. The couple has two sons, Chenab and Koran. Let's take a glimpse into his life. May I request Simi ma'am to play the video? We welcome you, sir, once again. We are eagerly looking forward to listen to a great story of what success actually entails. Without any further ado, I request Usha ma'am, a senior school head, to take the session forward.
Thank you, Nirupama ma'am. Thank you, Shalin sir, for joining us today. You are a much decorated officer, and we really value the fact that you've given us time to be here today. I have been following your blogs and writings for some time, and I'm going to be quoting you extensively while questioning you. So I hope you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
You are an accomplished speaker, a wonderful blogger, a much decorated officer, having done several difficult postings. Yet, in one of your blogs, you have written that while you were at IIT Roorkee, you felt that you were inferior and that you were unambitious. I quote you. In fact, you've said that you suffered from a lack of ability. So I would like to know about your journey. Tell us about your childhood and your college days.
Well, I was just being modest in that blog, so I never suffered from any real lack of ability. So that is one thing. The second is that, yes, in my college days, I had lost a lot of my drive and ambition. That is because of, temporarily you lose your way in life. So it is very difficult to climb back into the mainstream, especially academic mainstream, once you've lost it. So that is the context in which I would place. Speaking of my early life and childhood, I was born and brought up at Ludhiana. It's an industrial city in Punjab, born in 1974. So I am a child of the 80s, grew up in the 80s and did my schooling and finished it in 1992. So Punjab of the 80s was disturbed. A lot of the scourge of terrorism was there, and so my entire childhood was spent in the shadow of that particular period when Punjab was a very disturbed place. So that had a huge impact on me, and so that is why you see me in uniform today. So I always wanted to join the uniform because of the glamour which it offered, and because of the conflict between the security forces and the terrorists, which was taking place in the background all the time. So it affected my psyche, my mind also. So very early on in my life, I was very fascinated. It was not about public service. It was more about the glamour part of uniform, about being personally very powerful and wielding a lot of clout authority. So it is wrong to say, to the children listening today that I wanted to be in public service to serve the public. I just wanted to don this uniform for the glamour which it offered to me growing up in Punjab, and what I saw was a great way of life, a very powerful individual I would become. So that was the honest part. So that is about my early life.
Okay, wonderful. That is indeed candid when you say that you never wanted to serve the country, and it was the raw power that attracted you to the forces. I'm just going to jump tracks and want to ask you, how does it feel that that you're not a part of the corporate world, and that you've taken on the police service, and emolument-wise, compensation-wise, they are at two different levels. So how does it feel?
I was a part of the corporate world after finishing my graduation. I was a management trainee with SRF Limited for a year. So I've seen it, a bit of it. So it didn't attract me too much because I always wanted to be in the police. So I quit the job to prepare for the UPSC. I see my wife, she is a very, very senior person in the corporate now, working very hard and a very, very capable individual. I have great respect for my friends relatives and people who are in the corporate world. They do no less a job. In fact, ma'am, I would like to add here that just being an IPS officer or being a senior person in the government does not make you a successful man. I really differ with this definition of success. I would like the children who are listening to me today, success should not be measured with your occupation or income actually. It is how happy you are as a person, how satisfied you are. There are so many people who do so-called mediocre, mundane, ordinary jobs. People working in a bank, people working in a post office, or self-employed. They might be much happier, much better individuals than the so-called, people like me sitting in such exalted positions. So one thing that children must understand, that the media and the newspapers and TV and the movies, they glamorize certain occupations and professions. It is wrong. Any profession or occupation can be very fulfilling, provided that is what you want to do. I wanted to pursue this avocation, so that is why it makes me happy. Not because the world, I started off because the world valued it, I wanted it. But genuinely, I fell in love with this job, I like it. So that's why I feel I'm a happy man. So I think the children should be more focused on following what they want to do and not pursue somebody else's dreams or what appears to be glamorous to them.
Thank you. Thank you for defining that for the children. Sir, can you tell us about your college life? I know that there are lots of stories associated with that. And I think that was a time that defined you as an individual. So share that so that children know how it feels and what you did.
It was an unmitigated disaster academically. I left IIT Kanpur and went to Roorkee. I had taken aerospace engineering at IIT Kanpur, BTech first year. So somebody brainwashed me there that it is a very bad branch that you opted for. So you also qualified for Roorkee at a separate entrance exam in those days. So you leave IIT Kanpur and go there. So I fell for it and I left after 8 days and joined Roorkee, took up chemical engineering there. I think the only reason I had to come was because I had to fall in love with a girl there, and finally she's my wife now. Otherwise, I don't see any reason why I came to Roorkee. IIT Kanpur was the highest ranked IIT in those days. So somebody leaving that college and coming to Roorkee was a bad decision. Now this is what I'd like to say. My credit to my parents, especially my father. When I just called him from Kanpur, from an STD PCU and told him that I want to, this is 1993, that I now, after 1 week, that I want to leave this institute and join someplace else. He gave me the freedom. He said, okay, if you're not happy, you come back. I don't know how many parents even today, 28 years later, would allow their children that kind of a freedom. An 18-year-old deciding that he wants to give up the best college and come to another college to pursue engineering. Many parents would simply not agree to that because they would say you are immature, you don't know what you are doing. And it was a mistake, honestly speaking. Today, when I look back, IIT Kanpur was the best ranked IIT. But now I just want to add here, it is you must allow people to make mistakes. This was the mistake I made. I came to Roorkee, another fascinating, wonderful institute. I graduated from there. And then later on in life, whenever I had to take a decision, some good, some bad, I never had to look over my shoulder. So if we don't allow children to make mistakes, then we are setting them up for failure. That I'm very convinced about. I made a bad decision. It was a bad academic decision, but it was wonderful for me because it allowed me, gave me the confidence to live with my decisions. So as soon as I landed at Roorkee, in first 10 days, I realized that I had given up a better institute. So I was, I felt very bad. Then I started losing my way. I made friends with people who, like me, were very tired of preparing for JEE, wanted to have a good time. So the first 6 months were lost in having a good time. And when you are in a college like IIT Roorkee, where all the people around you are toppers from their respective schools and districts, it is very difficult to climb back once you are out. So first, second semester was a disaster. Then you lose your confidence. Then you feel that everybody else around you is much better than you. And then you don't feel like studying. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So academically, I went down and down. And finally, when I graduated, I was at the bottom of the class. I was 34th in a class of 34. So that is my college life academically. Otherwise, I had great fun. I look back very fondly because I finally made it in life. Had I not made it in life, I would have been very, very sorry for what I did in college.
Thank you. You've mentioned that it was unnerving to be clueless as a youngster, especially when you were in the midst of capable and focused group of people, right? And there are many students who have tuned in today and many parents who are facing a similar situation. So what helped you to emerge out of this situation? How did you deal with it? Now, how do you think the students should deal with it? In fact, not just students, but any of us who's facing this situation.
So actually what I meant when I wrote this, maybe I can't recall the exact lines, but I must have meant was that, people there, most of the students there, even back in the 90s, I graduated in 97, they were very focused. Somebody knew he had to appear for CAT and do an MBA from IIM. Somebody knew that he had to go for civil services, so they were preparing for the civil services. Some others were very focused on GRE and GMAT because they wanted to go to US for higher studies. So most 80% of the people were very focused and they knew what they were doing. Just like an ordinary Indian middle class child today. Parents are very focused, children are very true. So although we didn't have all that access to information which we have today, but the story was the same. Children, boys, girls were very focused. They knew they were in a top institute. They wanted to do very well. So I was in that minority who really wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to be an IPS officer, but didn't want to work for it. I had no clue what subject to take, what to do. So I was just drifting along and ambling around just from one exam to another, just passing every semester somehow and trying to reach the next year. So that is my state of mind. I was very aware that I'm surrounded by people who are going to do very well in life. And I also, wanted to do well, but it is like somehow like you can't bring yourself to doing what you want to do. You're just lost in the day-to-day grind of surviving, enjoying, so-called enjoying yourself. Although somewhere inside you feel guilty for not doing well enough. And what saved me was, one very important person was a girl in my class who had a lot of confidence in me. So she ended up marrying me finally. So I'm not recommending this as a therapy for kids that you fall in love with a girl and then she'll save you. Not necessary. And other was a bunch of very close friends I had, especially boys from Bihar. So we stuck a very close friendship and, that gave me a lot of this. And finally, when I was finishing my graduation, a lot of things, my mother, I lost her last October. She had immense faith in me. She would tell me that like Lord Hanuman, he lost his mojo and he forgot how powerful he was. She told me that I had a brilliant student in school and I could do anything that I set my heart to. So she never lost her faith in my ability. So all those things, they came together when I needed them.
Thank you for sharing that. So you feel that friendships are very, very important in pushing a person. So can you elaborate on how as students they should invest in friendships? What should they do?
Well, I can't say you should invest in friendships. Everything seems to be so manicured these days. I think the word networking has taken over the world of friendship. Today, people don't want to associate with losers, so-called losers, people who are not doing well in life. So it's very important, that you should associate with people who genuinely like you. And I'm not talking about people who are into drugs and who are, please avoid such characters, even if they appear to be very good. Luckily, I did not have any such characters around me. But you should make friends with people who you genuinely like and people who like you intrinsically. Please do not cultivate friendships on the basis of what benefit you can accrue from them. The worst thing that we can teach our children today is to teach them to associate with a certain kind of student. He's a topper, uske saath time spend karo. She is very good at maths, please spend more time with her. Or he speaks very well, please go and spend time with him. This is all nonsense. This friendship won't go far. I'm talking about genuine friendships based on people who might be doing equally bad, equally good, doesn't matter. But people who like being with each other. So I was very lucky, and I think when you are going through life, you have ups and downs. It is bound to happen. I saw my downs. I touched the rock bottom in college, which is a very crucial stage in life. But luckily for me, I was able to bounce back after my graduation because of all the support system that I had. So I would strongly advocate children, please do not go looking for friendships. If it has to come, it will come your way. I cannot tell you how to make friends. You will come across people whom you genuinely like. Please spend more time with those people and do not go for making friends with a certain kind. That is my only advice.
Thank you for that. I am going to touch on something that's I think you would be very sensitive about. I know that you lost your elder brother at a very young age, and then your father also in quick succession. It must have been a major setback to you. How did you face the challenge, cope with the loss, and bounce back?
Well, ma'am, in a way, I'm still trying to cope with the loss, especially of my brother. He was my only sibling. He was elder to me by 2 years. He died at the young age of 30. And I was under training at National Police Academy when I lost him. I came home, I cremated him. And 4 days later, my father succumbed to all that. I'd taken a huge toll on him. So I'm still trying to come to terms with it. Every day I miss him. We were very, very close to each other. And, there are things which siblings share, which they don't share with anybody. And we were rivals in many ways. We had that sibling rivalry. Not that we were very lovey-dovey. We had frequent fights, and we were very cut off with each other, often in school and even when I was in college. But yes, there was that deep bond which siblings share. And having lost him, I think I've lost a very important part of my life forever. So that changed me also. It made me very aloof to lots of things in life that I used to enjoy with him. But how did I take it, ma'am? I think life doesn't give you a choice. You have to carry on. You may be emotionally shattered by events, but I remember when I after cremating my father too, I had spent 10 days. I got a message from the National Police Academy telling me that I had to come back and join the training. They were very sorry for my loss. They were very nice to me, but they said that if I didn't join it on time, my training would get repeated. I'll have to do certain exams the next year again. I'd have to come and appear for that. So I rushed back, and as soon as I landed in Secunderabad, there was a car waiting, took me to the academy, and there was this cross-country run we had that day. So I had to participate in the 10-kilometer run. Immediately I reached the academy and I ran and I finished the run, did very well. But after I crossed the line, I broke down. I couldn't control my tears because, so in a way, life had to go on. I realized that life was going on. I was participating in all that I was required to do as an IPS trainee. At the same time, my world had changed completely. So, so I think what life taught me is something eternal, that no matter what keeps on happening, as long as you are alive, the show has to go on. You'll have to keep yourself engaged with the business of living. So that's what it is.
So carry on.
So carry on. There is no option actually. If you are very weak and if it affects you too much, then you won't be able to carry on. But that's it. The world will not stop. You will stop. You will stutter and splutter and maybe collapse. But nothing else will change. The world will go on. So either you carry on and look after people you are responsible for, or you collapse and you let the world carry on. Nothing is going to change except a couple of people around you will be adversely affected. Nobody else will be affected. Even if you collapse, you have mental issues, whatever. Nobody has time to perpetually bother about you. So I think we make too much about issues children face and people face. The honest fact is that children, if you're not strong enough, if you cannot face life in its entirety, all the vicissitudes of life, if you cannot face them, then I'm very sorry to tell you at this young age that nobody will be affected except you, your parents, and maybe a couple of loved ones. That's about it. There is no point telling you anything else. So you got to brace up for life. You have to be strong mentally to face life. If you're not strong enough, if you're not emotionally strong enough, then trust me, life is going to be a very hard climb.
So you have to be the master of your life. Can't allow to be the victim of life, right? You have to take charge. So thank you for that. My next question is, my children have sent this question and they want to know, one, how did you prepare for the services? And two, what was your first posting like? And how was it, your time at the academy? How was it?
So they want to know all this free of charge. Okay. So how did I prepare for the civil services? Ma'am, the second question I didn't get you. I'm sorry.
So the first question was, the first question was about how you prepared for the services. Second was your first posting as an IPS officer. And the third was, how did it feel when you were at the academy?
Well, I think how did I prepare for it? Actually, in those days, although internet had come, but it was not, it was very costly to access the internet. I remember it was 60 rupees an hour, 98, 99 when I started preparing for the civil services. It was not a viable option. It didn't have all that content. So today you have a lot of content on the net. You can prepare anywhere. So then I had to come to Delhi to prepare for the civil services. And I stayed in this area called GS Rai. It's a very God-forsaken place. It was in those days. It's true. So we had a lot of students from all over the country, people who prepared for civil services in bunches. So I had some friends from Roorkee, my classmates, who were preparing this. So I joined them and I took a room on rent. I remember 1,700 rupees was the first rent. So it was tough because I was sharing, there were 3 or 4 rooms on that floor and there's 10 of us on that floor and there was only one washroom. So you can imagine times were tough. And but when you are young and you have a lot of, you are focused on your goal. So these things you just don't bother about if you're genuinely motivated. So I joined one coaching for sociology. I didn't have money enough to join the coaching for general studies and another subject, geography, which I had. So I took the photocopy of the notes from my friends. So we were dependent on Jugaad in those days. We didn't have access to all that kids have today, all those printouts and all those things. They cost a bomb in those days. And for somebody who had just graduated and was not working, getting money from home, all this used to mean a lot of embarrassment, asking for money every month. And then, so that's how I prepared for civil services. Basically, it was a lot of self-study. The exam still remains the same today. You have to, and I like to add something here for kids in school. Your schooling matters a lot. I was a very, very academically driven child in my school days. I was very hardworking, very sincere as a student in my school days, till my class 12th. Now that, and I was good at various subjects like history, English. Now, all these things did not pay me any dividend when I was preparing for IIT. So lots of students who were focused only on maths and science, and they did better than me at IIT and still doing very well in life. I had other interests also. I loved English literature. My father introduced me to Shakespeare when he was doing his MA English when I was in class 1. So King Lear and even Chaucer, Canterbury Tales, I still remember. Raghukul Tilak and Ramji Das were the two authors whose simplified versions he made me read when I was a young boy. And I fell in love with literature. I loved history a lot. Now, all this, many people would say, I was wasting my time. Why are you studying English or history? You want to appear for JEE and go to IIT. So that also I did. But all this interest and this came in handy when I was preparing for the civil services. So diversity of interest was required there. You needed to be good at history, geography, etc. And luckily, all that effort that I had put in my school years, it came in very, very handy. So any extra interest that you have in reading, writing, that will never go waste in life. That is what I want to tell you. Do not remain so focused in life that you do not care about any other subject. Any other subject that you read, apart from math, science, etc., will be equally helpful to you in life. Trust me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Another student has said that they are more focused towards technology. Okay, as students, their interest is only in the field of technology. And he wants to know, how can we motivate, encourage the youth of today to pursue civil services?
I think there are plenty of youth, millions of them motivated already. So I don't need to motivate any extra numbers. Especially students in small town India, rural India are still hugely motivated. It is only in the metros like Hyderabad, Delhi, where children from middle and upper middle class families are, I think, slightly less motivated towards the civil services. They see it as a very rugged, a very, a different kind of occupation. They don't see too many people in their families or homes doing this job. But I think in small town India, rural India, boys and girls are still hugely motivated because they know, they are more connected, more grounded to the realities of this country. So they don't have the option of going abroad. Maybe their parents can't afford it. Maybe they don't have the option of such good schooling, which children in metros get. So they have a hard grind to follow. So they realize the worth of governance, administration, which is the soul of heart and soul of any country. Maybe kids from better schools can simply go abroad, pursue higher studies there, and then cut off their links with their parent country. But this option does not exist for millions and millions of kids in this country. For them, the civil services remains a huge, huge way to change the way their country functions. And so to be very honest, ma'am, I don't really think that it is very easy to motivate kids from upper middle class families studying in posh schools. They have their route cut out. Some of them will still appear for civil services. So that is the frank and honest answer from my side.
Okay, but what about us as teachers and as parents? What can we do?
I think, ma'am, it is very important to keep the children grounded. I think what has happened is, I see in my own family also, our children, especially middle and upper middle class families, are getting cut off from their own country and its realities. There seems to be two kinds of India. One, in which we live, and the other one which is outside our homes and outside our protected colonies and our curated lawns and schools. The real India, the country is still coming up. We are changing. We are becoming a powerful nation, no doubt. But we still have some real problems to deal with. So those problems will be dealt by the government in conjunction with the citizenry. So the government remains a very, very important tool for change within this country, whether it is internal security through the police or guarding the borders or the administration. So all this remains very, very important for this country. So I think what the teachers need to tell increasingly is that, okay, you may like to go abroad for higher studies. You may have your eyes set on greener pastures, but this is the country. If this country doesn't grow and do well, you cannot get respect outside. As Indian Americans, as Indo-Canadians, anything, unless India keeps growing and does well, you will not find respect in the world. So this country, this great land of ours, this is the one that we need to serve with all our heart and soul. Unless this comes up, unless this keeps growing, we will not find our rightful place anywhere.
Okay, noted, sir. Thank you. I'm going back to one question that I had asked. What was your first assignment like? And also, students want to know what has been your most challenging assignment and why?
My first assignment, I was assistant superintendent of police in a place called Aurangabad in Bihar. It was a small town and a lot of logistical challenges. So, but I was very happy, wearing the uniform, and I had my own Maruti Gypsy, and I had my own driver and gunman. So all that made me feel very important and powerful in a small place. I would go around, as my wife reminds me, often randomly beating up people for breaking traffic laws, something which is completely illegal, something which is never to be done. But when thank God there were no mobile phone cameras in those days, no CCTVs on the streets. Otherwise, I would have been dismissed. So I actually had a whale of a time, enjoyed myself, let myself loose on the people of that place, to put it correctly. It was an enormous challenge. It was a very left-wing extremism affected area. So we had to take care of that aspect also. But all I remember of that first posting is the fun in wearing the uniform every day and feeling very important, going to office, meeting people, listening to their problems. Generally, I felt that I had arrived in life. So that is my biggest memory of that first posting. And the second question which you asked, ma'am, was I think the most challenging assignment. I think being in charge of the Prime Minister's close protection team was the most challenging assignment, because Indian Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister of India, by virtue of his position, has a huge personal and positional threat. So to protect the most threatened person in the country, the most important man in the country, on whose shoulders the fortunes of the country rest, it is indeed a very big challenge, and it's a very big responsibility. It's also a very big honor to, in all modesty, I must tell you, to get selected and handpicked for that job. Means that you have lots of things that people appreciate and admire. So if I was a very mischievous kid in school. Some of my teachers, if they could never have imagined that this man would be given the responsibility of protecting the Prime Minister. So that is all I can say. It must have been a big shock for them also to realize that I was the one responsible for protecting the PM, because they thought that I was good for nothing in school. I was very, very mischievous and very, very naughty.
I want to ask you, right? You rightly said that that there was a great threat perception, and that's why you were handpicked for the job. So how did you feel being the first person there who would have to probably take a bullet or ensure the protection of the Prime Minister when you were on that job? And how did your family take it?
Actually, it's as a police officer, you run risks everywhere. Even when I was SP in Naxalite affected districts like Munger and Nevada, the risk to life and limb is always there, even in law and order situations. So the risk part is nothing new once you are in the police or in the uniform. But I think it's a matter of great pride and honor that the nation or the system gives you that responsibility, that you are the one responsible for the close protection of the Prime Minister. And if something happens, you are the one expected to intervene and do something on behalf of the entire country's security apparatus. So I think it was a great honor, and I treat it like that. I was never very bothered about the risk aspect, frankly, because that, as I told you, is a part of being in uniform at all times. So I didn't think too much about it. I just thought about it as a great opportunity and challenge, and a great matter of great pride for myself. My wife, she was very proud of me, I'm sure, and I hope she still remains proud of me when I'm not doing that job. But I think the honor that was placed on my shoulders, for me personally, it was so great that no other emotion could overawe that.
Thank you. As DIG of Patna, you initiated some very innovative schemes in the field of women's safety. Can you elaborate on that?
So, ma'am, what had happened was that one particular girl was molested in broad daylight by a 45-year-old man. That school girl was going home. He physically assaulted and molested her so badly that she was mauled physically, and it happened in broad daylight. So when I reached there as DIG, I reached the place, I realized the severity of the incident. Then I went to that school, that government school. And the girls, when I spoke to them, there were tales of such things happening to them on a routine basis when they traveled from their village or from their home to the school on bicycle or through auto. So as I told you that these are real issues for girls all over the country. Then I decided to go to some other government schools, some private schools. And I would speak to the girls there. I would address them. I realized that I was 40 at that time. I turned 40 years old and I did not know the enormity and severity of this problem. Several girls took it as fait accompli. They thought that it was a part of growing up for them, that they would be over that. Somebody would tug at their clothes. Somebody would pass lewd comments, and they thought that it was very normal. It was their responsibility to save themselves. Whereas it is absolutely shameful. It is the responsibility of the state to protect these girls, and it is shameful that there are such men and people. And I would like to tell you here that by referring it to this as eve teasing, we commit a very grave error. We trivialize this offense. It's an offense, a very, very serious offense against the girls of this country. When somebody tries to assault them, passes comments, or behaves with them indecently. It is not teasing. And it should not be taken as boys are boys, they will do that. We should be very, very serious about this as a society. I was shocked that, the girls that I talked to, in every school, every class, they had incidents like this to narrate, and they narrated to me in a very matter-of-fact manner. They never thought this was an offense. They thought something was wrong with them, that being a girl itself invited this kind of unwanted attention. So we started a program in which I wrote about it also on a blog in NDTV. I said, no, there is no question of teaching them self-defense, etc. You cannot teach self-defense to all the girls, number one. Number two, self-defense, it takes years and years of hard work for a young girl to take on 3 or 4 goons who are much better built than her. So this is a fallacy which media perpetuates. Of course, they should know how to defend themselves. But it is the priority, it's the responsibility of the state, of the government, and of the society to see that these girls are not harmed. It is not an individual responsibility of the girl. It's the responsibility of the state. So we lodged complaints. We encouraged them to come forward and lodge FIRs. We took it on priority. We arrested such people, such boys. If they were minor, they were sent to the remand home. If they were adults, they were sent to jail. And we pursued this. So we lost several hundred FIRs in a matter of few days in this matter. So it was an eye-opener for me. I had never realized that there are millions of girls in this country who feel so unsafe while going to school. And the very fact that they accept it as normal life. And many of them thought that if they complain about this, then their parents will stop them from going to school. So this was the more shocking part for me. And it is very shameful, let me tell you. We talk about our ancient civilization, culture, and treating women as goddess Durga. But the reality remains that there are millions of perverts in this country who are let off very lightly by their own families. I think it is extremely shameful for the parents to have children like this. If my sons were to go on to do anything like this, I would completely disown them. This is one thing I think which the parents are equally responsible when they raise boys in a manner where they treat women with such disrespect. I think it is very shameful for us as a nation, as a society, and even for the families who produce such boys.
Thank you, sir. It's very heartening to know that your strong opinions on this particular matter. I want to know that what should we do as a school to enable our girls to do more and be more? I know our girls may not face the kind of challenges openly like you're pointing out, but definitely we do want them to take on more leading roles and not be restricted in any way. So what should we be doing?
I think, ma'am, especially talking about as a school as good as yours, I think as it is, they are on the right track. They are in a very good institution. And I'm sure it also implies indirectly that they come from very well-to-do families. So the physical safety wise, they are slightly, I would not say completely, they are slightly better off than the girls who go to lesser schools, in the sense who are not economically as well off. That also exposes them to greater danger. But that doesn't mean that the safety of these girls is not a consideration, or that they don't come in harm's way. They also have a reasonable chance of coming in harm's way. So one thing is that we have to teach them to come about and talk about such things. They should not feel ashamed if they have been assaulted, indecently touched, or molested in any way by anyone. Whether it is, let me tell you, ma'am, such incidents also happen within the family. incest is a very, very common occurrence in any society in the world, even in our society. So the girls, I'm sure they must be encouraged to come out and expose such people, whether they are in the family or whether they are friends or anybody. They should not allow anybody to touch them indecently, to pass lewd statements or comments in their presence. Anything which embarrasses them, which we understand as indecent, should not be tolerated. Secondly, I think the school must make these things very clear. It must tell the boys also in the class that it is an offense to send lewd messages, to send lewd photographs, or to talk obscenely in the presence of girls or otherwise. It is an offense. It's an offense under the Indian Penal Code. So boys who do that in class or in school or outside, they stand to face criminal prosecution, which can bring an end to all their career dreams. They should not treat it as an innocent mistake or something that boys are want to do or likely to do as they grow up. We need to change our attitude about this within the families, within the schools also. This is to be taken very, very seriously.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to assure you that this is something that we talk about very, very often and do highlight it as a part of our regular routine in our curriculum as well. This is a question that has come from a member of the editorial board. She's mentioned that the designation of Inspector General in police services is a highly responsible profile. What changes have occurred in your life after you took on this responsibility?
I don't know what changes have taken place. Nobody in the family takes me very seriously, so I don't see any change domestically. But yes, as your rank grows, as you grow in rank, I think expectations grow. So you have to be more conscious of your public demeanor and the way you are seen in the public. It's very constraining in many ways. I'm a very laid back man otherwise in life, but once you are in uniform, then it has to be worn in a certain way with certain dignity. And once you are in uniform, then you are forced to conduct yourself at times with a lot of dignity, even though you would like to shed the dignity for a while and behave otherwise. So that is one change that is thrust upon you by this position. If I were in the corporate sector, I would have been a different person, at least publicly, because I was a very fun-loving kid, a very mischievous kid, and a very, very mischievous youngster. But ever since I've been in the police, I've been forced to have a very serious public persona. So that is the change that has been thrust upon me, and I can't change it, because when you are in uniform, a senior government servant, people in public, or when you are in public, expect a certain kind of decorum from you. Now you cannot say that I don't believe in this and I will be, because then that's not done. I remember one senior officer telling me that as soon as you become a superintendent of police, which was just 15 years ago, you become the father figure for the entire district, a collector or a SP. So you cannot behave like a 25, 26-year-old as you are. You have to behave like a protector of the entire city. And people, in India, in our culture, they expect a certain kind of behavior from people who are supposed to protect them. So you cannot behave like as they show in the movies, police officers behaving in that way. That's simply not done and not acceptable. So that is good for the movies, but in real life, you have to project and you have to have a very serious persona, at least in public.
Thank you. A question that a child has asked on the chat box is, who is your inspiration?
Well, my inspiration, basically my parents, both my parents, and I don't say this for effect. My father, because he was a brilliant man academically, a man born and brought up in a village, but way, way ahead of his times. He was a very, very friendly parent. He never touched us, never did anything to us, and he just encouraged us to read a lot, and would make me sit on his lap and narrate me, tales from Shakespeare, Chaucer, and as I told you, so a man way ahead of his times, very friendly to us. Economically, he was doing very badly. He did badly all his life. He started a business, it flopped. So I saw him struggle financially, but that did not affect the compassion that he had, the magnanimity of spirit that he had. So he's my role model. My mother, simply because she was a tough parent. She was the classic parent in the strict Indian mold, and not like, and she never tried to be friends with us. She was very particular about the grades I got in school, whether I was doing my homework in time or not, whether I had revised before the night before my exam. And I would often get slapped for being sloppy with my handwriting. And I think it is those slaps that she used to give me, not so infrequently, which have made me the man that I am today. So to be very honest with you, ma'am, I might be politically incorrect, but I think parents as friends sounds very good, but parents are not friends. Parents are parents. They can be friendly. And after a certain age, of course, they become friends. But when you are growing up, when you are a young child, you need parenting proper. So I had the good cop, bad cop type routine in my family. One, the liberal parent, the other, a very strict parent. And I think I was very blessed. You need both these things in equal measure if you want to be a balanced individual in life. So that is my take on it. And both of them, they remain my inspiration and they remain my role models, my parents.
Thank you, sir. Another child wants to know, what do you mean by IPS? Do you use technology in your work as an IPS officer, or do the forces use technology?
Well, yes, IPS means the Indian Police Service. So it is an All India service, part of the Indian Constitution. Article 312 defines it. All India service means that IPS officers are recruited by the Government of India. They serve in the state also, they serve in the center also. So all the DGs, all the senior officers in the state police are IPS officers. Similarly, all the senior officers in CBI, IB, CRPF, BSF, all the senior officers are IPS officers. So they provide leadership to the Indian police in all the organizations. That is one. Now, technology, yes, you will be surprised to know that many of the IPS officers are IITians, people from premier technological institutes, brilliant people. Don't go by what don't go by me. I'm not one of those guys. But we really have some very, very brilliant academic people who are very well versed with technology in the intelligence bureau, in the CBI, in the state police forces, in the intelligence gathering wings of the police, who use state-of-the-art technology. And the Government of India has the services of some very, very keen minds who are very, very adept with technology. Although in day-to-day policing, I must admit that we need to improve upon the use of technology. We are doing it on a daily basis. But yes, we are behind the corporate sector in our day-to-day working. But otherwise, at the big picture level, the government is served with some excellent people who are absolutely very comfortable with the latest technology.
Thank you. This is a question that even I want to ask you. How do you manage your personal life and work? And I know you have two young boys and a wife in a demanding corporate job. So how do you manage?
So actually, they have been managing me all along. I can't manage them. So actually, it is how you take your life. I enjoy this job a lot. I'm very proud of the work that I do. And since this was a childhood dream growing up, so I believe every day that I'm living my dream. So that maybe keeps me going. So I don't feel any burden. In my present responsibility, I have lots of time, which I didn't have when I was in the field, when I was a DIG in the range or a superintendent of police. So I have lots more time now for myself and the family. And I think it's not a very difficult balance to strike for me. The government is a very benevolent employer. It takes care of all my needs in a very, very magnanimous way. So I would like to tell the students listening to me that salary wise, yes, we cannot compare with the top shots of the corporate world. But when you talk about other perks and privileges that this job offers, then there are very few jobs in the world that can match up to the All India service, whether it be the perks and privileges of accommodation, living, anything you talk about. And simply the social prestige that you command in this society is invaluable. You cannot compare it with or monetize it or talk in monetary terms about this. So if this is the kind of life that you want to have, where you want to serve your country with great honor, really want to contribute to the well-being of the citizens of this country, there is no other job like this.
Thank you, sir. One child wants to know, has there anything stopped you from going to your job or doing your job?
Yes, my children at times and my wife often. But on a more serious note, I didn't understand the question. What is he talking about?
So the child wants to know, has there been any situation when either you didn't want to go to do the job because it was so challenging, or there was a threat to your life, or there was a personal challenge? I think that's what the child means.
If there has been, I'm not going to admit it on online. No, I mean, nothing like that which has prevented me from going on my job. Yes, there have been many challenging instances. There have been law and order situations in which I escaped lynching. There have been there was one time when I was fired upon by left-wing extremists from close quarters. I escaped. So there have been times when you find that you are in peril as a police officer, but these are not very frequent times. This does happen, and you have to be ready for it in any case. But nothing of the sort that prevents you from going to your job.
Okay. One question that I want to know, a student has again asked this: what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote, yes, it is never underestimate the power of doing nothing. So I saw this somewhere, this animated character is lying down on his back and it is written, never underestimate the power of doing nothing. So people who are laid back, lazy, just daydreaming, do not underestimate. Some of them are going to be great achievers. We emphasize too much on hard work in the sense, get up, do something. At times you just have to chill, just take a break. Just sometimes you need to dream also big. Work will also come, it will follow, but also you need time to lie back and dream about things. I think we are getting too caught up, this generation specifically, we are getting too focused on doing, achieving activities. Every school judges students on 30 activities. I don't know which students are these. In my time, we just used to play, come home, do the homework, and we didn't do very badly in life. Now we have this music classes going on, parents sending children to TT classes, badminton. Everybody wants their child to be an achiever. Every person is not meant to be an achiever in the classical sense. So please do not make yourself very, very unhappy or make your children very unhappy by trying to push them. Let them lie on their backs. Let them get up late at times. Let them enjoy life by dreaming about something. It is not necessary that you keep working at your dreams all the time. There's a time to dream and there's a time to work. So I think the business of living should not be taken so seriously because we are not going to get out of it alive. Ultimately, we are all going to perish. So if you understand what I'm saying, please sometimes enjoy doing nothing and be at peace doing nothing also. Do not feel restless. The biggest problem with this generation is that they're very restless when they're doing nothing. We used to do nothing for 2 months in the summer holidays. No preparation, no activity, just sleeping. Sometimes electricity wasn't there, no fan also. So we would read or you would move around aimlessly in the afternoon, not allowing others to sleep. So that also is I thought was a great growing up. It teaches you so many things. If you are focused all the time, you'll tire out by the time by the age of 20, 25. I think most of these are going to burn out by the time they reach 30. So to blossom into good, balanced individuals, please relax, take it easy. You will get somewhere in life. You don't have to work towards achieving something on an hourly basis. It will happen in its own time if you are serious enough.
Thank you. It must be very heartening for the students. It's definitely heartening for me because I do tend to spend a lot of my time doing nothing. I want to ask you, sir, the children seem to be hooked onto technology, devices, gadgets, and social media. We don't face that too much. Our children are not so much on social media, but they are definitely playing a lot of video games. And sometimes they don't realize that the entire day has passed or they've spent so much time on these gadgets. So what do you have to say to the children about this?
I think it's a very worrying trend, ma'am. I once wrote about it in a blog. I wrote, "Stop the world, I want to get off." So this world that we live in is completely unrecognizable to me at times. You see, for us, even this interaction that we are having, although it is required in this day and age, it is quite abnormal. I would rather interact with people on one-to-one basis than like this. So the children who are spending too much time on gadgets, they are missing out on vital connect with life itself. Going out, as I said, sitting lazily in the balcony, just watching the sparrow do something, just watching that tree move, those leaves, the rustle in the leaves, all that is lost now. But human beings do not evolve every generation. We take millions of years to evolve. So our basic requirements haven't changed in the last 25 years. We still want warm relationships, trust, love. That has not changed. But we are changing. The way we deal with life has changed drastically. We don't have time for anything. We don't meet our friends. We don't meet our relatives. We don't spend enough time with people talking aimlessly. That idle talk, that idle chatter, which meant nothing, is very important. It really makes you feel relaxed. That brings out the real warmth. Now we want to talk sense all the time. Even when parents are talking to children, I see they want to drill sense into their heads all the time. It's all about do this, don't do this. This will make you do this. All interactions are supposed to add some value and meaning to us, which is completely nonsensical. How can we go on living, adding value to ourselves every moment? We are being created randomly by nature. There is no purpose to our existence, basically. Our existence is completely random in this universe. We are nobodies. We are nothing as a planet. Why are we giving so much importance to ourselves? We should take it easy. We should learn to relax. This generation, ma'am, is going to face huge emotional and mental health issues. We can see that. Children will not be able to cope up with life as it once they step out of these protected schools and colleges. The moment they are out in the open, they are going to face huge challenges because they simply don't know how to interact with each other. They can't give space to anybody else. They all want to do, they all want prominence. They all want attention. They all want to hog the limelight all the time because they come from very protected environments. So I'm really very concerned how this generation will face the world. I am not one of those who says that, every generation keeps on improving. No, I don't think so. I think this generation is going to face a lot of problem when they see emotional and mental turbulence in their lives, conjugal life, otherwise. I don't know how they will cope up with that, because we are surely telling them for failure by not allowing them to meet with each other, to spend more time in doing aimless, idle work, idle talk. It is that which shapes personalities. It is not only, it is only in movies and in social media that you can remain pumped up all day. Nobody remains pumped up. Nobody can remain high on adrenaline all through one's life. It is okay. It happens once in a day, or maybe once in a month, or maybe a couple of years in your life that you're very pumped up for something. You cannot remain perpetually on that emotion. So we are making a big mistake by feeding our children that success and achievement means you have to be gung-ho and you have to be focused and driven all 24 hours of the day. I don't know whether I'm making any sense to people, but I'm very strong about this. We have to take a back seat, allow children to be children. Elders must behave like elders. Elders must not try to become children, and children should not be treated as elders. Every maturity comes with time. Wisdom comes with time. So some people who feel that children today are very smart are wrong. Children today are still children. They may be better informed, but they are not wiser than we were at that age. They are as unwise as we were at that age. They may have more access to information. That's it. But they are liable to commit some very serious errors of judgment because excess information, lack of wisdom is a very, very potent recipe for disaster.
Thank you. So that brings me to my next question. 3 pieces of advice for parents and teachers.
One advice for parents is please be parents. Be friendly, but please be parents. Do not abandon that very important God-given role. You have to nurture them and guide them. You cannot let them be. And do not trust them so much that you let them do whatever they want to do till a certain age. So please be parents first of all. Be friendly, but be parents. Number 2, let them make mistakes. I'm not saying that you see your child having cannabis and heroin next room and you say, let him do it. Aji saab ne kaha tha, let him make mistakes. That is not the mistake I'm talking about. But let them make their choices about subjects, about colleges, about courses. Do not think that simply you made it big in corporate or in the government, you know about them. Let them take their decisions. It is when they take their own decisions, maybe wrong ones, that they will become stronger people as they grow in life. If you do not allow them to make mistakes today, at 35 or 40, they're going to make big disasters. So be ready for that then. And for the teachers, ma'am, I can tell them that please do not rely too much on, there is no substitute for online or physical interaction. And we still, and the teachers that we still hold in high esteem are those teachers are the biggest role models actually, because growing up, there's hardly any student who does not look up to some of his teachers. So teachers, I think they have the most important role in this world. They shape minds, they shape character and personality. But I would request teachers not to judge children only on the basis of their academic performance. I was often very harshly judged, not academically, I was quite bright academically, but because of my so-called, mischievous or naughty behavior or being a prankster. Some children will shape up to be very mature and responsible adults, far more responsible than you give them credit for. In my convent school, I was one of the most punished children, and I say this very openly, and I say this to my friends from school also. I think in the 80s, at least, our model was completely wrong. Children who were mischievous, who were naughty, who were pranksters, were seen as very devilish and who were punished very harshly. So I think that was a big mistake. You cannot judge a 10 or 11-year-old child on the basis of his pranks in class. Sense of responsibility does not come at the age of 10. That is precisely why I told you, please do not rush into judging people. A character gets formed over time. So some of the most mischievous people might turn out to be the most responsible ones. And some of the most servile, docile students might actually be the most compliant people who will not stand up for anything in life. They don't, they are being very nice and coy before you. You may love them a lot, but they might end up standing for nothing in life. So you must have a little bit of spark in you, a little bit of madness to amount to anything in life. So I really want teachers also to be open-minded in judging students. Do not judge them on the basis of their behavior in class. They are too young to be judged like that. So I think we should be more liberal and give people more space.
Thank you, sir. I think those are very, very relevant points for teachers and for parents to take away. There are a lot more questions that I already have, but I think I've come to the end of today's conversations, particularly since you have only given me one hour. I have to tell you that your words are very inspiring, and this is a conversation that I have wanted to have with you for a very, very long time. I wanted, ever since I met you the first time, I wanted that you should be heard by students, because I think it's very inspiring, and by teachers and parents. So thank you for making my wish come true. Uh, Really grateful to you for taking the time out to be here. Over to you, Nirupama ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your experiences with us today. It was an honor to hear you speak about your journey. I'm sure all of us are inspired by you and have learned many life lessons from your experiences. You embody strength and courage along with warmth and affection. You have rightly said that with all the cacophony that surrounds our life, it is very important to remain motivated and focused. Your journey inspires each one of us. Make us believe that if you can dream it, you can do it. We appreciate you for your time from your busy schedule to come and speak with us, share your experiences, and inspire us with your wonderful stories. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shriites, for these interesting questions for Mr. Shalin. So, Shriites, dream on and work to make these dreams come true. Thank you, Shri Parents, for joining us in this session. Special thanks to our Managing Director, Sindhura Ma'am, Aishwarya Ma'am, Director Education and Founder Principal, Jyoti Ma'am, Head Operations, Nisha Ma'am, for organizing this wonderful session. Thanks to Senior School Head Usha Ma'am, all the coordinators, Shri educators, admin team, the Shri Ram Universal School, Hyderabad, for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Namaste, everyone.
Before we close, sir, may I request that when you are next in Hyderabad, do come and meet us in person. It would be an honor to have you and Vipin ma'am on campus talking to our kids. That would be wonderful.
Sure, ma'am, I'll remember that. And thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to thank Usha ma'am and Nirupama ma'am and all teachers, faculty. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interact with kids. If only my teachers and my principal 30 years ago had, she couldn't have imagined that someday I would be called to talk to kids and inspire them. So you don't really know what reputation I carried in school. So I've come a long way from there. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to redeem myself. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And I really love the idea of dream big. You have time to dream as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.